What's up, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode of In the Trenches. Our guest today is a fashion and celebrity photographer. Her founding project, Let Them Stare, even got published by Good Morning America. It was her work with Kane Brown that led me to her. But I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe. So let's jump into it with Angelea Yoder. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Are you kidding me? I mean, first and foremost, you're married to the one and only Tim Yoder, who we all in the film world in Nashville know him very well as a premier Steadicam operator. So, I discovered you late in a little bit of this process. We were talking when he came in, and I regret saying that, but like you were on a vacation, I started discovering some of Tim's Instagrams, and I discovered you. And I was like, "What?
Yep, there's two of us.
There's two creatives in the house."
Yoders,
wow.
yeah.
How did photography start with you? How did you start with photography?
Yeah, so I was a triple major in college: public relations, Spanish, and writing. And the public relations major had an elective for film photography. And so I was just like, oh, this sounds fun. I've always loved photography, though, just when I was little, like the little, digital cameras and stuff. But this was the whole 9 yards, like the developing, dodge and burn, darkroom kind of stuff. Yeah, it was wonderful. I'm so grateful that I was able to learn photography that way, because I think it's an art that's lost. And a lot of that foundation is learned through film photography.
Absolutely. And that kind of answers a bunch of my questions, what means we're going to dive into them nicely, because I believe I texted you or DM'd you and was like, I really am a fan of yours.
Thank you.
And a lot of it had to do with your discipline, I think I said, or your controlling of the frame. And I can see that's there's almost like a OCD to it, maybe possibly to
see that.
It takes one to recognize one. But I'm thinking, just even in the first couple minutes, I'm like, okay, well, there it is. Shooting film definitely hones. You're not spraying as much. You're really forced to obsess about the four corners.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And know that what you're looking at, you're not going to just shoot a wide and blow into it or crop into it or whatever and get your thing. Is that something that you still are like now that you're probably in some, because of business speed and convenience, digital, you carry over?
Yes,
all of that knowledge.
Those fundamentals of film photography definitely translates to digital. I'm sadly not shooting film nowadays, but it would be an art that I would like to pick up again. Is just time, but just focusing on your shot, making sure you get it, just because you don't want to overshoot either because of time.
And you're with high profile clients, and their time. Sometimes you only have 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, or even less. 2 minutes.
Even less.
yeah.
So your journey started in Wisconsin?
Yes.
You were. That's where you grew up?
Yep, I grew up in Wisconsin, and then I went to college at College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So it kind of started in Iowa, but yeah.
And then from there, what led you to Nashville?
I worked at a country radio station right out of college back in my hometown. Okay. And so I still am. I'm a huge country music lover. Yeah. And so, I got to meet all the stars and my boy crushes back then. And
that's cool.
It was kind of like the dream job for a college grad. So I'm from a pretty small town in Wisconsin, and I wanted to, spread my wings kind of and go. I knew everyone in my hometown. Yeah. And so I just up and left, quit my job, which I love dearly. That was very hard. But I didn't know anything really about Nashville. I just knew that I could probably make it as a marketing professional and also a photographer, because I loved the fashion, the fashion realm of photos. But I figured that fashion and country music could meet, or just music in general. everyone needs fashion in their photo shoots.
Of
So
course.
yeah, I just up and left and passed my resume out all along Music Row one day. And then I just went all around looking for a job. And that's how I found friends and kept going from
Wow.
there.
Was it the fashion that ignited the interest of photography? What, was it the clothes and how it was worn or whatever? Just whatever. What was it about fashion that you gravitated towards?
I used to look through a lot of fashion magazines, and there's just a lot of creativity in these, whether it's an editorial or a commercial shoot. I think there's just a lot more creativity that goes into it. So makeup, hair, the fashion, or the clothing, styling. I think it's just the posing even. It's so creative and so fun.
Mhm.
I just always were drawn to those spreads in
Sure.
magazines and stuff. So I wanted to bring that like flair to music
Sure. I
shoots.
mean,
Yeah.
when you're doing a shoot, how many times I've even done shoots where I'm like, dude, this is awesome, but like, man, it looks a little frumpy, or the clothes isn't really there. And there's a fine line
Yeah.
when it's too, there's red carpet stuff and there's all that,
Yep.
there's more, but then the stuff I shoot kind of fashion still matters, but you still want it to feel lived in and authentic to
Yes.
to them, and that's part of it.
Yep.
Um, when you first got here, though, I mean, so you graduated from college, but you
Hmm.
were still new to the whole industry of photography, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were just kind of saying like, I'm gonna go do this, right?
Yes. In my hometown, I was doing more of the, like seniors,
Mhm.
family portraits kind of thing. There wasn't much room for fashion where I'm from, but yeah, when I moved, it was the scariest thing ever
Yeah.
to move somewhere without knowing a single soul
Mhm.
or having. I think I had about like $800
You had more than me.
that's it.
What
Yeah,
I did,
I saved
I'm
up. I was like,
relating to
yeah,
you.
it was so scary, and you just
Yeah.
don't know anybody. And but I mean, I just remember walking along Broadway, and
Yeah.
I got a job at Wild Horse Saloon, but that's where I met all my friends who became family, and I
Mhm.
think that makes everything better.
Yeah, and the
You know,
hardships, and
people.
you had to, wasn't the easiest of pills to
No.
swallow. I moved from Arizona when I was like 18 in a
Oh
in a
yeah.
Jeep that didn't have a roof or doors.
Okay.
And I think I had like $300, but then when I
Yeah.
got there, I had about 150.
Yep. Yep. It goes
And it was
fast.
definitely, yeah, it was tough. But I feel like those years or those times alone, that's what really sets you, or is this really going to be something that
Yeah.
you're going to, it eliminates the pipe dreamers when you have to dig and live in that fear,
Yeah.
unknown,
Oh
all
yeah.
that. So that says a lot about
Yeah.
you to fight through
Oh,
that.
thank you.
What
Yeah.
now? I see you work with. I mean, you're doing all kinds of beautiful stuff. How did your relationship with Kane Brown start?
Actually, a director, Alex,
Huh?
he
Yeah.
opened that door. And I think as any artist, someone can open the door for you, but
Yes.
it's up to you to make that door
Yeah.
happen or
Walk
go
in
through a
and
walk
own
in.
it.
So I'm very thankful for that connection
Yeah.
and that door. But he brought me onto a set. And I said, "Hey, I'll shoot a few portraits just to see what I can do."
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of went from there. Um, and I think the best thing about working with like just Kane or just any artist
Mhm.
as a photographer, that relationship with that caliber of artist, that
Mhm.
to have that trust and
Sure.
just relationship means more than the name, I guess.
Mhm.
Just but to pop them up on set and have that just that relationship and trust is
Sure. And
everything.
you've nurtured it because it's still
Yep.
ongoing on future projects, right?
Yep. Yep.
So there you go. That's
Yeah.
that's how you know you're doing something right. Now,
Yeah, I hope so. I
were
hope
you
so.
nervous the first time you got out there? And,
Oh.
you just like panicking the night before, no sleep.
A little bit. So that was like behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Yes, I was nervous for sure. I still get nervous all the time. I think I talked about that on my
Yes,
last
I
post.
got
Yeah.
that question.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the first things I
Yes. I mean, I'm a, like I said, I was a country music fan. So
Yeah.
I've loved Kane for a long time. But yes, I was definitely nervous. And now on sets, I'll just, go up to the artist and shoot portraits. And that's what I
Sure.
love doing, just capturing those behind the scenes moments, but also capturing portraits at the same time. But my first one, I remember being like super scared to go up to him. But
Yeah.
now that confidence is there. But don't get me wrong, I still get nervous. But
Of course.
I think
Yes.
it's a
I
good
love
thing.
that. I mean, that was one of the, I think you did a post, and I don't totally comment a lot on people's comments. Like, I was waiting for, what the question was, do you still get nervous on shoots? It's probably,
Yes.
I think it was like a Reese Witherspoon
Yes.
post or something.
Yes.
Great photo, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And I was like, in my own mind, I was reading it going, yes. And I get that question a lot too.
Yep.
Hey, do you get nervous? Mine's more towards Morgan Wallen. Are you nervous when you work with Morgan? Every time I get nervous when I'm shooting anybody, because it's just about it, but it's an exciting,
Yes.
it's an anxious, it's get me going, it's a let me out of my cage.
Yep.
Nerves, right? Is that the same thing for you?
Oh yeah. And as a photographer, you go in and you have a vision of what, once you receive the treatment and you're like, oh, I'm going to do A, B, and C. Well, we all know that once you get to set, that's not always the case. You have to think on your feet. And sometimes that can play into the nerves. But I think, you want to do a good job. You're a professional and you want to keep obviously getting that repeat client too. So you want to make sure your posing is down, your direction is down, the lighting is right. And then the time also is right. When is it appropriate to go get those photos or capture those, and using the artist and the crew's time.
And having a crew that you can trust, that know you too.
Yes.
Is that they need to know that you may be in a panic situation, but you're not going to show it, and they got to help you out of it too. It's a real.
I'm glad someone resonated with it.
Yes. I mean, the way a lot of my shoots go about, so much of my work is natural light.
Yes. Same.
Yes, I noticed that again. Yes, I noticed that. But also, just like yours, there's a precision to the four corners of the frame. You won't see my parallels or my verticals out of whack. Mine came from shooting film, but also directing film. Which means you better very well, you're locked into those corners.
Oh, yeah.
And over the years, and I've just become really in tune with the four corners and XY axis. So it's almost like I'm seeing the subject oftentimes third when I'm framing a shot.
Sure. Yeah.
Four corners, art, this. Okay, there you are. What do you see when you first start framing? Because I notice you have a lot of natural lights too, but you're also your light. You don't your natural light is controlled, and you're using the sun to manicure or to groom, romance the light. I love that. I can tell that it's not overpowered, and even when you do strobe, it's balanced to the atmosphere, to the environment.
Yep.
I love that. Do you see light first? What do you see?
I don't. I actually see the face
Oh,
first, I think. Yeah, we see the face. So I was not trained, I guess, but the person who I learned from when I was first getting started really focused on that posing. So, full face profile, just working around the face.
Real traditional portrait.
Yes.
Using the light to move and right.
Yes. Yeah. So I pose first and then look at the frame. Okay. But I have a tendency to focus too much sometimes on just this. And I've started looking at environmental portrait style, like Annie.
That's my work.
Like Annie.
Yes.
Like, where she gets that person's environment. And I think that's a beautiful way of capturing someone's story too.
Yeah.
So I'll I started working with 2 cameras now. One with like a 24 to 70 and one with a 70 to 200. And that way you can capture what's going on and then use a more shallow depth of field on the face. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I still don't know what I'm doing all the time, but you know.
But we're talking tone. What visual style? Like I haven't talked to anyone yet about that, so this is great.
Oh yeah.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth. A photojournalism approach to portraits, or photojournalism, portrait, environmental portraits. That's very much what I love about photography for me. It's a lot of my work is fine art with these artists, and the space or the environment or the light or the mood of where we are and what is happening in that moment is just, if not more, essential to capture than, say, their expression.
Right. Exactly.
It adds that extra layer to the onion that just like.
Yes. I've seen some of your prints that you've been doing, and they tell a story.
Thank you.
And that's so important.
Yes, thank you.
Also, if it's a behind the scenes video, you want to tell the story that goes along with that video.
Yes.
So
when I'm shooting a lot, like this be fun. I consider myself a portrait photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So and maybe it's coming from the directing side of things. I'm obsessed with movement or implied movement.
Sure.
Implied, obviously, and this stems right into fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are visual tones that you must discuss with your clients, go through your brain the night before. That this is the cramming homework that us photographers, at least for me, I get into the weeds on. What is my visual tone? How am I gonna, what I mean? Am I gonna go long? Is my environment not that great?
Mm-hmm.
And now I got to cut through it on a longer. And now it changed. And now it just feels like I'm shooting a catalog or something of this guy. It's not it. So how do I? Do you know what I mean?
100%.
You'll see me on set. I'll be like 24/7, 7200, back to the 24/7. I'm like, I can't figure out what it is
that's why
that I'm getting in. The visual tone. Does it take you? I'm going off script now. Does it take you time? How long does it take you to grab a hold of that visual tone? Meaning, you're going to get to set with all these awesome ideas, and something's just not right, or the light's not right, or the location, something's not right. Your assistant might know, you're just not hitting it. You're just not getting that. And it's probably just you and the subject aren't warmed up yet, Does that happen to you a lot?
It does. I think that circumstance with behind the scenes portraits, I think that situation comes up where I think maybe something will be lit pretty well, but video lights are very different than photo lights. But you might not have room time and the room to bring in a light. You might be in a very close space where it's you and the artist. You do not have that time. So it's, I might not have enough ambient light to make this what I think it's going to be, but we're going to try it anyway.
Do you then go on a mono pod and just really try to lock it down, open your shutter, kind of drag it a touch, and I mean, I don't like high ISOs, like,
oh yeah,
grab
12,000
and go. I don't like that, but yeah, sometimes if you see me, like, I'll be in a recording studio or, something, I'll have to lay the camera on a speaker, push it forward.
Oh yeah.
And so now there's absolutely zero wobble, and I can drag it to maybe an 80th or something and just bring in that light that wasn't there.
I should try that sometime.
Yes.
Sometimes it's thinking on your feet, and that's a trick that I'm going to try to pull out. So
on your feet.
Yeah.
Something else I've done that I tell folks when they see me, they're like, "What are you doing?" When they see me do this.
Oh.
And so, like, I'll know. Let's just say Aldine or something's going to come around a corner, hopefully, or and look, 6 out of 10 times he's going to come this way, but 4 he'll go that way. But I'm prepared. This is the best background. This is where the light is right. I've got some foreground. I use that to be his face for my exposure.
Yep.
See, it's skin, it's lumpy, so it has curves, and I'll know that I'll know the wrap is wrapping right or something. It'll wrap my hand. And so I'll shoot my hand. Yep, cool.
Yep.
Wait.
That's good.
And then wait. So that's me controlling a non-controlled situation. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yep.
But chances are, if Jason or Jake, whoever sees me, they're going to walk my way, right?
Yep.
They're going to avoid me.
Right.
So that's another little thing I do.
I like it. I like it. That's smart.
Yeah,
very smart.
You know? How has photography changed for you over the years? God, I can talk for 2 hours on this. Like when you started, to where it is now. What might have been important to you at one moment isn't now. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Let's talk about it.
When I first moved here, my focus was finding friends and a network. So I think I photographed almost 200 to 150 people when I first got here. And I did shoot for free, which was not greatest. No. But as a new photographer, nope, terrible. I'd never recommend. But I wanted the...
Explain for the viewers, because they need to hear.
You should never work for free unless it is a creative personal project that will, give your creative soul, like ignite kind of thing. But I mean, it's your time, it's your gear, it's your art. You've worked really hard to develop this art, and you should be compensated for it. Yeah. Not everything is about money, but it is a business as well. So you do need to look at it as a business professional. But those creative projects that you do for free, though, are as important, though, too.
Yes, very much. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Yes, I've learned the hard way.
Yes, we all do.
Yes.
And I try my best to, look, you want a client to pull out their checkbook of some sort.
Yes.
And you're important in that way. But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Where were we? Okay.
Oh, yes. So when I first moved here, 250 people, shot them to try to make friends, though, too, because I'm a very big people person. I'm also a big people pleaser. So that doesn't, we'll just exclude that out. But yes, I'm a big people person. So I just wanted to make friends right away, because who wants to feel isolated in a new city? So at that point in my career, it was just making those connections, making friends, trying to get to the next step and learning more about Nashville and how the music industry works, how the fashion industry works here. In the middle of those, I've been here 10 years. Yeah. So 10 years, it moved because I had a lot of other full-time jobs too, as a marketing professional, a creative professional. And so I did go a little bit more commercial, a little bit more branding. And then when Alex opened that door, the music industry, photography realm, yes, that was a wonderful experience to, try to learn and such. And I love that. And now, as I'm reaching like a decade of being here, I really wanted to focus on purpose. As a photographer with physical and invisible differences, I think it's really important to kind of hone in on that. I never used to want to share that, but I think it's something that has helped my photography grow and a different perspective on what you see through the lens.
Yeah.
So my purpose is to use my photography or art to help tell others stories who may not be able to tell them.
Sure. And this goes with you do this many times in a year, but it's your side project, Let Them Stare, right?
Yes.
Which is very powerful.
Thank you.
And didn't it just get published by
Good
Morning America?
It did. Yes, it did.
Look
I know,
at you.
insane.
Come on.
That was insane.
About that?
So yes, I launched the Let Them Stare project in April, and it was something that I've been wanting to do for a while, or just use that title. I thought of that title like 9 years ago, though, for a fashion show. I thought that would be cool. But my good friend Laura and I sat down for coffee maybe last year or 2 years ago. And we're talking about I was going to write a book, like an autobiography or a biography about my life. And I just was not ready yet. It just was a little scary. But then I was like, I want to write a children's book. And then Laura had the idea of, incorporating real photos into a children's book. And,
Mhm.
we both have never seen that before. And
No.
to use real photos, it would help children. Here, let me back up. The So Let Them Stare is two books,
Okay.
two as of right now. So it's just a children's book and an adult book. And the children's book is called Look at Me, Look What I Can Do. And the adult book is called Let Them Stare.
Mm.
But they're both going to be comprised of real photographs. And the children's book was going to focus on 30 different children with invisible and physical differences, but focusing on what they love to do or what they can do rather than just their difference.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important because children are not introduced to differences at
Yeah.
the same speed. And rather than, staring at children, um, this will hopefully help them understand a little bit more that
Mhm.
everyone's different and beautiful at the same time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
also, if a child has these differences, imagine if they open up this book and they see another child with a similar story. That creates so much resilience and
Yeah.
community. And they're like, oh, I'm not alone anymore.
Sure.
Um, and then, yeah, and then the adult book is a um, similar theme, but it will be called Let Them Stare and a little bit more fashion forward, but still focusing on what adults have done to go past their difference and not letting that difference define who they are.
I love that. What? How
Yes.
did the significance of that? Where did that come from? I mean, where did that stem from for you to make that so important of a cause to you?
Yeah. So I've never thought of myself as disabled.
Mhm.
I do have a disability by if a dictionary. I guess my parents, I'm very thankful, have always brought me up of you can do anything
Mhm.
you want. I mean, obviously with some physical limitations, you can't go play like, football, that kind of a thing. But, I grew up with four brothers and sisters. And so I was always seeing them, do clubs, sports, everything. And my
Mm.
parents wanted me to have that same experience. So I was very thankful to have a childhood filled with different things. And so I think that those experiences still came into adulthood where I still want to do everything. I can
Mhm.
do everything. Maybe I just have to do a little bit extra behind the scenes to thrive. And yes, sometimes it gets hard,
Yeah.
sometimes it gets lonely, but I think that message of you can do anything. You can be a
For sure.
photographer and shoot amazing people, and you can be an athlete if you are maybe like a double amputee or something. You can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And I think that message needs to be like just out
Yeah.
there.
Get it
Yeah.
out there for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
think it's amazing. I was um researching a little bit of it, and when you said um embracing imperfections, that really hit me because that's something that I'm actually doing in my work, because I feel like my work, I try to control it, right?
Yeah.
And I really went deep for a minute, when
Yeah.
thinking of you saying embracing imperfections is how that really let them stare came about. That's part of
Right.
the creed. Um, is that something that you face in your own work? Do you try to over perfect? Because I see, again, I'm like minded in the way that I identify and relate to your work. And yeah, there's differences of what you love and
Sure.
but I can see that there's something to it. Now, a perfectionist,
Oh, yes.
um, I'm learning to embrace imperfections in my work. You're using it in a term of why it's such a meaningful cause. Do you think, why is it so hard to do that in your own work is what I'm getting at? Because it's
Oh,
struggling for
yes.
me to embrace, hey, even if it's a nose shot, I mean, just like, why do I obsess about something that isn't what I had intended it to be?
Yep.
Does it ruin it? No.
Nope.
It's getting past me, getting out of my own way. I
Yes.
wanted to talk about that because it stemmed from those words.
Yes.
Embracing imperfections.
I am the biggest perfectionist when it comes to my work. I am so guilty of sitting there for hours editing like one photo. And that photo might not even might not even get published. That might be in the archives forever. So I don't know. But I think we want to be proud of what we shoot. As far as like people's imperfections, whether it's like a blemish or something, or maybe they don't like it. I will say, as a portrait fashion photographer, I will not take out those like moles or anything. I think that's something I am very like happy or very I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but Peter Lindbergh, the fashion photographer, he did the same. And I look up to him as a photographer. I think his work is wonderful. And one of the biggest things is that he would not retouch models' faces or take away things that made them them.
Yeah.
And so that embrace imperfections I do follow. Unless it's something that's temporary, like a gazette or something. Sure. But as far as editing work and such, I am still getting better at that.
Okay. Is there something that what because you spend so much time then in the edit? What is there something that appears in your edits that you're like, I could have just that you now see when you're shooting and you're like, fix that. You fix it on the set or you shoot it properly. You just now have a red flag for this one thing that you definitely don't want to see in post. What is that one thing?
Oh, yeah. It depends when I'm shooting. I have different things. So, for example, if I'm shooting a guy, cell phones in pockets. Cell phones in pockets. I have that too. Whether it's weddings, artist shoots, anything. The square in the pocket.
Love it.
Also, if you're looking for that movement, though, like if I photographed that ballerina just yesterday, I noticed that I wanted the movement of cars behind. But I mean, if you have a bright green car going by, that's not going to be pretty in a photograph. So you're watching which vehicles might be okay in post. And if you want a little bit of that drag. But if the ballerina is moving, that's hard to capture like a blur of the car. And so sometimes I just waited until there were 0 cars, which was great. But I did look at also the light for that specific shoot. I wanted the light to come in behind her so you could see her shadow. So I am watching for those things, especially when it comes into environmental portraits. When it comes to just the face or, from chest up, I don't catch myself doing it as much.
Well, you're in more control.
Yes. Right? Yep.
What you're not controlling says that ballerina shot that huge, whatever that was, 18 mil, 20, it was a 20, whatever, big, wide, there she is.
Yep.
You're talking about cars, you're talking about, air conditioning ducts that come up.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Who knows? A silver duct that comes up a building, you're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I have many of those. I could probably go on and on and on and on about my little things. Cell phones in pockets is one for sure. Headstocks, if it's live, it's anything coming out of the artist's body. A headstock from the basis behind things, coming out of the head. But yeah, those are mine are usually blocking things that I can control. I can move a little bit and I work really well in spontaneous situations. That's kind of like my thing.
Yeah. Like extension cords and such that you can hide behind things.
Sure.
Chargers, outlets, that kind of thing. If you just move a little millimeter away,
just a little boom.
Saves you so much.
Yeah,
yes.
Saves you so much time in post.
Yep.
That's exactly.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Color. Color is something that I love. And some people might say, I don't like your color. That's fine. I happen to like it. And I learned mine from film, from music videos.
Oh, yeah.
So back in the day, we would transfer all of our film over the course of a day or two.
Yeah.
That's like 11, 12-hour days, where you're just, your colorist is grading your film. you do that for so many years with these guys that you just learn things. It's the same color palette painting that I kind of do in my videos that I like. So it's kind of like something I had to work to figure out to get to
Yeah.
a place that I liked this kind of color. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
shooting color and then do you do your own post? Obviously you said.
Yes.
So how has your process been developing quality color? And notice I'm not talking about black and white. I'm
Yep.
about color.
Color.
To find your palette, to find what you like. Do you stick to one? Is it always different based off of a thing? For me, it's not. I like what I like, and then but I don't want it to contaminate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There is
Yep.
a poisoning of something. It's artificial. I ride that line.
Yes.
Where do you stand with color on yours?
I like to be pretty consistent through all of my images just because it is a brand.
Mm-hmm.
However, I like to change it up depending on what, like, for instance, like the video looks like. So those photos should complement the edit of the video. So sometimes that's a struggle for me because yes, we like what we like. So if the video has a cooler tone, then you do need to change your tones. I like more of a warmer tones to my images.
Okay. I like a cooler tone in my images.
Oh, look at that. See, help me.
What's the reason for warmth? What do you love? Is it just compliments the skin, right?
Yes. And I have a fashion photographer who I absolutely adore. Her name is Laura Jade. She's based in New York. And I think when I was first learning fashion photography, I was looking at her work, and her work is a little bit warmer too. And so when you're inspired by someone else's work, that's what you see is warm tones. Very still true to color though about skin. And I think that's I am huge on is matching skin, true to color skin. Not everyone has the same skin tone. Yep. So you need to make sure whatever you edit, that still looks like them.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
Ultimately agree. Yeah. You shouldn't yeah. I mean, that's not even a discussion. Who were some of your influences coming up? Once you finally started to see that you were going to do, sometimes it can change too, right? You can be thinking it's going to be here, be like, whoa, you discover someone new. What are some of your, mentors or influences photographers and why? What was it about their work?
So when I was first starting out, I went to Italy and Barcelona on master classes with Clay Blackmore. He was is a Canon Explorer of Light. And that's where I learned my posing from. Direction from the camera. So you're not going over to that person and touching and like moving. You're directing from the camera and being able to quickly direct them from the camera. Yeah. I am forever thankful for that. And then as I moved into more of the fashion, a little bit editorial, I discovered Laura, and then also like Sue Bryce, and also Peter Lindbergh.
What is it about their work that you discovered? I mean, there's so much work to like. What was it about theirs that you liked that you wanted to implement into your own work?
I think I discovered Sue Bryce first, and back then I think it was just Facebook. I don't think Instagram, but it was the tones for sure, not as saturated.
Visual tones or post tone, like the color or how the visual tone?
Color,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, color. And her posing, her very simple posing, but the way she controlled light too. And what really got me too was that she talked about how you use the equipment you have. So I was poor back, I still, struggling artist, but, also I'm very petite. So I saw moving a bunch of like speed lights and umbrellas and stuff as an arduous task. So if you could just use a reflector in the sun,
smart,
that's all you have. Yeah. But it still creates a beautiful portrait. And I think I was drawn to that you can learn from somebody. Yes, very simple. And then I discovered, Peter Lindbergh's black and whites are what I adore. I am a black and white person. I would decorate my whole entire house with black and white.
I know. Why can't I have my website all black and white?
Right. I think it's just that timelessness of grabbing something out of a photo shoot, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what I try to capture in most of my portraits too.
What
is
it
that
about his
timeless.
black and
Oh, I don't even know. It's just like,
white?
like, I don't even know. There's this one photo that he took that is, Tim gifted it to me for a gift. And it's a model who's in like this amazing pantsuit in New York City with angel wings, which would prompted the ballerina shoot yesterday. But I think it's that timelessness of it and that untouched, not too processed, but the way he controlled light too, to make it look like it was lit, or maybe, I don't know. But yeah, just the genuine rawness of his black and white.
Nothing feels too stepped on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know.
I do like, Anton Corbin, his photos.
Okay.
Just inky blacks. I think he messes with the gamma or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's like crushed, killed blacks, but I love it.
Yeah.
Because the way it shapes his subjects. It kills like a chin or,
Oh, yeah.
But now you see the jaw.
Yep.
Like Bono or whatever. He's such amazing photos. I saw you worked with Newfound Glory.
Yeah.
I did their first video ever, hit or miss.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Like fresh.
Oh
did
my
you grow up in that
goodness.
pop punk era?
I did, in like the high school era. My ex-boyfriend was part of the scene. And so, as you wanted to try to be like that. I don't know if I necessarily was that in my heart. Yeah. Because I still love country music and stuff, but I learned to appreciate that genre music real fast. It was fun, but meeting Newfound Glory was one of those. I'm nervous because I love you all kind of feeling. Not like I was still nervous about, getting the shot, but that confidence was like, oh, this is going to be fun and exciting. But just the nostalgic part brought me nerves. I was just like,
really?
Like, oh my gosh. I remember listening to you guys in the car and just like, you remember that on the streets in your hometown. And now you guys are standing in front of me. It was a surreal moment and a proud moment too. As a photographer. Yeah. It's,
you're moving up the ladder. You're working with people, that you've been inspired by.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in the fashion industry, in your opinion, working in the fashions realm versus the music realm? Is there a difference for as being in that industry?
Similar, very similar. I guess my biggest fashion shoot was actually in New York Fashion Week, and it wasn't technically like a still set. Okay. It was the fashion catwalk event. Okay. But that is as fashion as it gets, and I think everyone is, this has the same mindset in the music and fashion. You have a goal. You want to, bring everyone to work together to capture this goal. But I think as a photographer, you go into sets doing the same. You have a job to do. You have a list of shots to get. And if it's a fashion shoot, yes, you can probably redo it a couple of times. Where most of my music stuff is like, let's go kind of thing. Sure. So
if there was a shoot that was like perfect in your wheelhouse that you could steer a client towards, what does that shoot look like to you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, it would definitely be in New York City. Okay. New York City is my, oh my gosh.
Canvas, right?
Something about it. Yes. It just ignites so much creativity and that movement factor. And everyone in the streets just, they all have like cool, like lives and purposes, and they're just all moving together. There's something about it. And then, the textures and the streets, and I don't know. That's like, you can't even take a bad,
changing.
Yes. And you can put somebody in this insane dress or something and put them next to like a dirty fire hydrant or something, and it's gonna look cool. So I think it would definitely be in New York City, and it would have that dynamic contrast to it. So something with beautiful clothing in a urban environment. I think that,
Contrast, yeah.
yes, I think that's what I would love.
So it's
Yeah.
it's like showing the beauty in the less beautiful setting. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
the
Chaos
beautiful,
and
yeah.
yeah.
I do love every time I shoot in New York. I do run into back to that whole embrace imperfections.
Oh yeah.
I like to control backgrounds, and you can't.
No.
And it's I look too far back into the photo, and I'm like, nah, next. And so I find myself frustrated when I shoot photo in New York. Of course, in video, I mean, music videos, I've
Yeah.
controlled blocks and blocks and blocks, but photo, I do. It's like if you can, would it be natural light?
I
Would you
think
bring a
so.
team of people? Would you go big? Would you go small? Would you move freely?
Oh man. Probably a mix. I am
Mhm.
trying to get better at lighting. That's something that as a photographer I would love to learn some more. I think I've always been a little bit intimidated by it
Hmm.
just
What
because it
part?
is all the strobes, all the big umbrellas, all the heaviness of things.
Mm. Yeah.
Um and so I photographed only with natural light for a long time.
Yeah.
But now, as I'm moving into this part of my career, I can see what light really does for a subject or just amplifying your work,
Yeah.
enhancing it.
Mhm.
So that's a goal of mine for this next coming year is to get better at lighting.
You say managing gear. I mean, I would say you're gonna do just fine. Just have a crew that manages it for you.
That's what I'm thinking. I know I'm
You're not
such a
gonna
like
lit
a.
the thing,
I know.
but you're gonna say how you want it lit and what you want. Um, it's funny as I've just kind of gone through so many years and years of trying out things and then not liking and trying out things. So now with me, like I'm trying everything in my work, everything to feel unaffected in the moment. Um, Again, there can be a team of people over there, and they're just there on standby, just in case I need a strobe,
Yeah.
or just in case I need something, and there's a storm, and blah 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 blah. They're insurance. You know what I mean? I've just now gotten, not just now, but I'm now in a place where I know what it is, how it is. I'm gonna get the photos I need. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Things will come, X factors will happen, and I'll have to improvise. But 9 out of 10 improvising, I still just need my wherewithal, my
Yeah.
instincts. A great location is very important to me.
Yes.
The location is probably paramount for me. It's almost the first thing I think about when I do a job
Sure.
is what is the background going to be. Um, I don't mind. I do like studio shoots, photo studio shoots. But I do feel like that's where we flex our lighting technical prowess.
Yeah.
And it becomes more about like, yeah, Peggy Sirota, she'll be crazy with emotion and stuff like that. But I've just always loved environments.
Yes. I'm the same. It tells a story
I
a
was
little bit better. Like
just gonna say it tells a story.
that one shot that I texted you about, that Morgan shot out of the car. I
Oh,
think were you in the car
yeah.
in front of him and
Mhm.
there was movement to it. I don't know. There's something about it, but yeah, it's as simple as popping out of a car, but having that like negative space where you can see the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what.
And the reason I say that is because even as I go further along in my career, I'm I'm now kind of hammering down on what I know I like.
Yeah,
I'm not experimenting. It's it's fun to kind of be in that lane of conviction,
yeah,
you know.
yep.
Is that kind of something that you're moving into a lighting world, so you're still kind of figuring out what really, we're just expanding your game.
Oh yeah, I
You know?
think so. I recently learned, parabolic and all the. I'm trying to learn that world a little bit,
Sure.
and I'm excited about it. But the opportunity to maybe use gels and help your
Mm.
editing and evolve it to a different type of editing that might be in fashion, but still holding to what I like.
Yeah.
So maybe those warm skin tones or those muted colors,
Keep evolving.
simple posing, not too very pretty, very like angelic almost feeling. But also just little tricks to make your editing easier too. Like if you're in pitch black on a music video or something, like shining a flashlight or something,
Sure.
just to get some face and some shadow or something. Little tricks like that just to make life easier,
Sure.
but also just to make it more exciting too to edit, because
yeah.
it can change it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Do you have a favorite photo that you have shot that you're particularly proud of that says, yeah, this is one off the list?
In music or just in general?
In general.
Oh man, let's
In
see.
general.
Which ones
If it
was
is in music, it's in music. You know, I'm throwing random things at you. You know, you had no idea some of this stuff. So, you know, but there's got to be a photo that just somehow stands in there in your brain as something that you love.
The one I took this weekend was one of my absolute favorite ones. I think that, first of all, I wanted to make it look like New York City, even though it was Nashville.
Sure.
But yes,
But you scouted, you did right, you got the right angles. It kind of does.
That dynamic contrast, but also capturing a moment of beautifulness, like in a chaotic world. I think that was one of my favorite ones. And then I'm trying to think of, there was one of Kane that I absolutely love. It's not published yet. Hopefully it comes out, but I think just the story behind it in terms of confidence and trying something new. I think I'll just remember the story and how
felt
proud. Yeah, and it's something I haven't seen before that he's branded as, you know.
wow,
but
it's
it's
cool.
just fun to. But I'll remember that photo. But I do love it. So
we talked a lot about photography, of course, because as you are a, you know, fashion and celebrity photographer. However, are you feeling the I don't know, pressures or whatever of a world that's so enamored with or so obsessed with video and content in the video realm of things? Is that something that you're just putting your head down and going towards the photo and locking in, right?
yeah, I struggle with video. That's Tim's world, but
Yeah.
Tim can do that. I think video though is beautiful.
Sure.
I think it does help tell the story. It should always be complemented with photos because I think it's just that movement part of it. But photos have they just capture a moment of that. And something that you can, frame on the wall or something and remember that as soon as you look at it.
Yeah, it's hard with video to put it in your kitchen.
Yes.
Remember it, you know?
Yes. And, you know, I think from a marketing perspective, it's difficult, you know, the algorithms and everything going towards video. I think it's harder to market yourself as a photographer by just using stills. But I think I'll probably stay with with stills forever.
That's good.
Yeah.
I noticed in your work you have a tabletop or food.
Oh yeah.
In your work.
Yeah.
And I even love how you said that. Like, oh yeah, like meaning it's a depart. I smiled myself when I saw it because I outside of my music and stuff, I shoot cars and trucks for Chevy and Ram and Jeep and all that.
That's fun.
And it's very fun because it's a whole different set of tools and less egos to play with, right? It's just, I mean, there's egos with the reflections that cause me some problems, but like it's a different vibe, different tone.
Yes.
Is that something that still entertains your love for photography, but it puts you in a more peaceful, shouldn't say that, a different kind of alone time or whatever?
Yes. I love photographing food. This started in COVID, actually, because we weren't seeing people. So I would just use food around the house or make cookies or something and then go out into my garage or carport and take pictures of food. And I loved it. There's something about like styling food and making it look like a cookbook or something. it's therapeutic. And yes, there's no one over your shoulder, sometimes now with, at restaurants or
Yeah.
different chefs and stuff, but they're all just grateful to have their art photographed and their work. It's their work. And I don't think they usually get their work photographed. So it's kind of, it's cool to work with a different community of people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah, I love food. And you get to eat it afterwards. Sometimes, unless like not.
One of the things I do want to chat about that doesn't get, a lot of, I guess conversation is looking at yourself as a business. We love what we do, it's fun. It scratches that creative itch that we love, but it is a business, and how do you see with ownership of photos or rights of photos, how do you see your brand elevating while, I don't know, rising above the content of photography and the content phase of things? Do you kind of jump in that current, or do you make it a real definitive line to say, I really don't shoot that? Or do you? You know what I mean? Do you draw the line? Like me, I don't shoot content. I just don't. Don't call it content if you want me to shoot it. Don't. That's it. I shoot for purpose. I shoot for an end result. I don't shoot content to shove in a drawer and to be used one day. I don't see that in your work. I see such a level of craft work, skill that has been learned and honed, but we deal with it. We deal with it a lot. How do you deal with that in your business and creating your brand and rising above or different from all that's out there?
Yes. I don't
That was a long-winded way of saying it.
I don't do a lot of content shoots. However, I will do branding shoots. And I think some branding shoots, you have the ability to capture content that's not, I think clients get surprised of what content I see as content. Like it's more of a brand, like a photo that's not just, someone walking. I don't know. It needs to have purpose. And so as an example, like I shot a food event that could be used from multiple different vendors and clients and such. But you're taking their product and you're styling it to make that product look like commercial. And that's not usually what an event photographer would capture, but you're using your skills and marketing yourself as somebody that can help you with your branding. Like, because they're going to get these.
We don't want it to look that good, Angelea. We don't want it to be this. Don't tell me you don't hear it.
Oh, no.
I hear it. Now, you don't necessarily call me for it, but I hear it. I hear it with other content people telling me these things, It's almost like you just got to say no all the time until it's a worthwhile vision, and it sets the standard for you.
Yeah.
The calls that are going to come in for you. Don't do that.
Yeah. I think saying no is a hard thing to do, but it's a craft at this point for someone to say no. I think being selective is an honor to be, it's
saying I'm a business.
Yeah. Yeah. But at like 10 years ago, I was saying yes to everything because it was about, I want to make new friends. I want to make new contacts. I want to get to the next level. And now, yes, your brand is
coincidentally, I bet your work when you first started and you said you were trying to meet people, do this. I bet your work was very open.
Oh yeah, I was doing everything.
Go on. Now look how your business is getting. You just said I learned to say no. And guess what? I guarantee. Well, I already know. I said your work is very disciplined. See how your business and your craft work together. When you're just willing to shoot everything, your work kind of feels as spastic as you are.
Sure.
Right. And as you learn, as you go through those trenches back down, you start to hone your skills, and now your business gets sharper. You're charging more for your time, or
Yes.
All of this stuff,
Mhm.
you know, your shoes are more itemized. All the above. You know, that's kind of what I was saying.
No,
So,
100%. And I still struggle with saying no
dude,
because I'm a people pleaser.
mm,
So I love, making people happy and I don't want to let anyone down.
yeah,
But
of
that's
course.
sometimes you have to look at it as a business for sure. And I
Sometimes,
struggle
always,
with
yeah.
that. Oh, yeah.
I try to help everybody to understand that you always do if you're going to bust that camera out,
Yeah.
because at some point you are going to see yourself as like, wait a minute, I want to change the temperature on this, and you can't just do it like that, right? Now you're seen as that,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's on the horizon for you moving forward? I mean, obviously, um, Let Them Stare is right there,
Right up
right?
there. Yes. I think that's where I'm headed right now is focusing on photographing these amazing kiddos, teens, and adults and helping share their stories. Just that purpose has brought me so much joy in photography, but I still don't want to let go of my personal dreams of,
Of course.
having an editorial in Vogue or something, or
Yeah.
meeting Mariska Hargitay from Law and Order SVU. She's my dream client. So, those are still, I want to still aim for those connections and
I think they're both one of the same.
yeah, so you never know where it can lead you, but I just want to, photography to make a difference in people's lives. And that's what I've always said is I want to make a difference with photography. So I think that's the route I'm going.
Mhm.
I'm excited.
You stick
It's a
with it.
lot,
I'm
but yeah.
inspired by you, and I'm so happy you came in here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I have no doubt that you will be in a Vogue
Oh,
spread.
thank you.
No doubt. You keep doing you. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.